Yo, what is up, Yugi fam? Hope everybody's having a great day today. Welcome to another video. Today I'm showcasing DDDs for you guys. I took this deck to locals 2 or 3 days ago, and I managed to technically go undefeated. We did tie in the last round against Striker, but it was a great day overall. I got to do some first time testing with this deck, like in real life, and it was awesome. It was awesome. I had so much fun playing a pendulum deck. I guess it's technically. I mean, it has all the utilities of playing a pendulum deck. All the all the mechanics are there. This deck summons like every every type of like card. Every type you summon every type of card in the same turn. It's awesome. But yeah, DDDs was it's a deck that I recently piqued interest to. I never played the deck prior to the new cards, so I didn't have any experience with the deck. But because the deck started to see a bit more popularity and the new support was pretty nice, I decided to give it a shot um, and yeah, it was pretty fun. So I'm no exception. I have to definitely give a shout out to Jacked YGO. I know he's been a big inspiration to a lot of people for playing this deck. So I appreciate the content that he puts out, the info, and everybody else that did play the deck before and was I've seen plenty of other content for other DDD players that played the deck like for a while, and with the new support they pretty much knew the direction that the deck was going. So I can't remember everybody's YouTube channel off the top of my head, but appreciate everybody putting the content out for uh, all the players to to learn from. So I wanted to also give a thanks to everybody that helped me reach 1K on YouTube. Thank you guys so much. It's awesome. Reaching 1K subscribers. We're a little over 1K now because we did reach it a couple of days ago. But thank you guys, and I will definitely try to progress the channel and provide content for you guys that hopefully you enjoy. And I hope you guys enjoy my style where I do go in depth and make longer videos and do test hands at the end, which we will be doing with this deck as well, just to give you guys a better understanding of how the deck functions. So let's get right into the main deck. We have this is pretty standard: three Kepler, three Copernicus. I was borrowing one copy from one of my friends, so this is a proxy for Copernicus. Um, and yeah, these cards you want to see them as often as possible. They get your play started. Kepler is a one card combo. Copernicus is a one card combo, but you need to open contract. The searcher, I forgot its name off the top of my head. Gate. So contract with the gate. If you open that, you search Copernicus, and then that becomes a one card combo. Um, but Copernicus on its own is not a one card combo. You either need DD cards or contract cards in your hand for it to be like a 1.5 card combo, I guess, because it requires just any other DD or like contract. But yeah, definitely. And if you open these two together, it's actually pretty nice because you could just send Swirl Slime with Copernicus to summon the Kepler from hand. And that way you get two bodies, and you still didn't resolve Gate, so you could search Griffin. Yeah, it's pretty nice. Speaking of Griffin, this is the new card. It's really, really powerful. Such a good extender, and it has amazing effects all around. Like, even the pendulum effect is decent, but all its monster effects are really good. It's a special. When you pen summon him, you can pitch any DD or contract card to draw a card, and then in the grave, when he's special summoned from the grave, he searches any DD card. So it's amazing. Definitely want to open like even multiples of these cards. Combination of these cards is definitely fine. That's for the three ofs. We have a two of here. I decided to play two Orthros. At least when I went to locals, I decided to, and I thought it was pretty nice. Just in case like I did draw one, I could still resolve. I could resolve Gilgamesh, the Link 2, to place another one from deck if I need to. But I also liked it because of the spell and trap removal, and it's so nice that this deck has an in archetype like out to like cards like Mine, Floodgate, stuff like that. So I really enjoyed it. I do need to test the Small World package with Archfiend Eccentric. I have not tested that at all, so that's probably going to be the next step. For the one-ofs, we have Cerberus. This is part of the one-card combo along with Zero King. Zero King was amazing. This card is so good to to help you prevent your opponent from hand trapping you. And it definitely, it definitely overperformed when I played. And it came up so many times where I'd stop like they or I'd have my opponent preemptively activate like Valor, Imperm when they were saving it for the Link 2. So this card's just amazing. It's so good. I would probably not cut this card, even if the two card combo didn't exist, just because it's a utility card that really does come up, especially post siding. Thomas for the this is also a very good utility, especially in the grind game when you could add back a Kepler from your extra deck and then normal summon Kepler, search a gate, and get your combo started again. So I think it's a really good card at 1. This is also a very good one of Ragnarok. This is the card that you mostly place in the scale because of its revival effect. And if it stays on field like every turn, you just get so much more value out of this card. Plus, the monster effect is really good because you contribute one other DD and target a monster your opponent controls and banish it. This card also came up for the removal effect. So I just like that you have a lot of utility within the archetype. You don't have to, main cards like Cosmic, stuff like that. You have in archetype cards that take care of different situations, which I really like. Now for the non-pendulum DDs, we have 3 Swirl Slime. You want to play 3 of this. This card is an extender, and it just helps you fusion summon. It helps you even like get monsters in the grave, so that way you get so much value. You get to fusion summon from hand, and then later on you could use Dark Contract to banish those resources to fusion summon again, and then you could banish this from grave to be able to extend and summon another DD from hand. It's what allows Gate to be a 1-card combo because you search Copernicus, dump this, banish this, and then you can summon like any DD from hand, or you can just like dump the Lamia, which I'll get right into in a sec. So Necro Slime at 1, this is fine because you don't really want to draw this card. This is always a card that you want to send to the grave because it fusion summons, it helps you extend. This is definitely a necessary one of 100%. Lamia, this is the card that allows Gate to be a true 1-card combo because, again, with the Copernicus send, you send Lamia and then you just send that Gate to the grave to summon Lamia, then you go into Gilgamesh and then you could combo off that way. It's not like the full like combo, but it gets your play started enough for you to establish something. Typhon is also a really good card because it helps you make the High King High King Genghis, and you can that card when you're trying to push going second against like back row, it can negate spells and traps during your turn only, and this helps you make it. So I think this is a really good extender. Plus, High King Genghis still has a revival effect. So I think this card is definitely a nice one of. I side it out going second, but I think for games 1 and just having it in the main is really strong. For the hand traps, this is another. I think this is a strength of this deck is to be able to play so many hand traps. So we have 3 Ash, 3 Droll, 3 Nib, 3 Valor. I decided to go with Droll because I think that Droll's really strong this format. It stops like the Brave engine from going off. And if you're playing Brave, Brave PK, Brave Prank Kids, it actually stops a lot of their cards because it stops the Brave stuff, and then it also stops like if they go Enchantress Search, you droll them. They can't use Fate's effect to search for the Griffin. They also can't resolve Cloak. They can't resolve Boots. Pranks can't resolve Roxy's. They can't resolve Doodle Doo or Place as well. So it's just I think it's a very strong hand trap in the meta. And then Nib is Nib. Ash is just generally good against everything. I also chose this over Imperm because when you do your absolute full combo, you have all your spell and trap zones occupied by your Pendulum Scales, by Gate cards, and by the DDD Hunt, which is the trap card. So sometimes I'd have Imperm and I can't even set it, so it's literally a dead card in my hand. So I'd just rather have the Valor. That way it's also another card that doesn't lose to like back row removal because surprisingly enough, this deck does get hurt by like Featherstorm, not Feather Storm, Feather Duster, Lightning Storm, because it clears your back row, so it clears your follow up, and it clears food, well, food for Machine X because he needs to destroy dark contracts to be able to resolve his effect. So I want to have cards that are in my hand that my opponent can't anticipate. So that's where the hand traps come in, the defensive cards. Plus, since you have one or two card combos with this deck, you don't have to. You can afford to play so many hand traps, and actually having like your full combo with like a hand trap or two is super powerful because you don't auto lose to droplet as well. For the spells, we have three contract with the gate. Obviously, this is a Rhoda. This is your searcher, mandatory three of one of the fusion Swamp King. This is fine at one. Sometimes it's nice to draw, but most of the time you want to search it. This card um, I drew a little too much for my liking. I know it's like a really good floodgate. And I also like the utility because sometimes I'll send it with Copernicus to add back something from the extra deck or grave. But man, I dislike drawing this card so much. It's always the one of that stick to your hand. This card is I dislike this card more than I like it. I really dislike it in this deck because it takes half your life, and you already burn yourself for 2,000 during your combo. So it's very easy to. I think it's easy for your opponent to kill you, especially if you're playing pranks and they burn you. It's I really want to test out Small World. I resolved this card like once, and I did not. I don't know. I mean, it was okay. It was okay. I guess I just need more testing with the card. One for one. This for Kepler, mainly. Even though you have other targets, but mainly for Kepler, because so it's a one card. It's another one card starter, and then Headhunt. This is the Widow Anchor. It's really good because if you steal like an extra deck monster, you can it treats itself as a DDD, so that way you can overlay into Machine X using your opponent's monster. For the extra deck, we have the Lynx, we have three Gilgamesh. This card's insane. It's so good. It places the two scales, gets all your combos started. This is, to me, this is Electromai on crack. That's the only way I can describe it. It's that insane. It really is, and it floats too. So when it gets destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon a DDD from your extra deck or graveyard. Also, it um, its effect to place the scales is on special summon. So even if you special summon it back from grave, which is really easy, you can place two scales and resolve its effect. It's not only if it's if it's link summoned, which is amazing. So there's a lot of like link monsters that have that clause that only say if this card's link summoned. This card says if it's special summoned. So in the grind game, bringing it back from the graveyard is actually really good. For the fusions, we have two Flame King, Gilgamesh. This card's like you need to play two because you overlay both of them to go into your Caesar. So and plus that revival effect is really good. Uh, the arc is here because you can make Siegfried when you use her and Lamia. Um, or this did come up in my last round. It was against Striker, and I made this, and I normal summoned Ash to make a Baron. So yeah, that was interesting. And then High King Gilgamesh. This is also the card that you mainly summon off Typhon, and to negate spells and traps during your turn only. Which I guess they wanted to keep it fair somehow, but I think it's just a really good extender. It's also a big beat stick as well. Flame King also floats too. I love how all these like extra deck monsters float. So you do maintain card advantage even after they die or your opponent like gets rid of them. And we have King Caesar. This is part of the combo. You make the level 4 when he gets sent to the grave. Uh, you can add a contract card when he also has a soul charge effect, but I've never used it before, but I know it does come up. Then we have Marksman Kingtail. This card's awesome because you do the burn damage. I won one of my matches against Brave PK because I was able to burn, and then that gave me the match pretty much. And then we have High King Caesar. This card's insane. It's a solemn warning, I guess. It doesn't negate like inherent summons, but it will negate any spell, trap, or monster effect that would summon a monster. So basically, all the prank kids, fusion spells, stuff like that. What's crazy though, like people like have to keep this in mind. This card does not stop Verte, because Verte copies it copies the card on resolution. There's no window for you to negate Verte. I thought that was pretty interesting, but it does also make sense because of the interaction with Ash Blossom. It's the same thing. So just keep that in mind. I think it's a pretty important ruling to know. Two Machine X Deuce. This guy, I'm convinced, is Zeus's dark brother for sure. They have like the same stats. Deuce, Zeus. Yeah, this card's awesome. It's so nice that you can just overlay it on top of any DDD. Like any, you could slap this on top of any one of these monsters. And then that once per chain, being able to attach your opponent's monster as material is actually pretty insane. It's a really good counter to DPE and Griffin because those well for DPE if it's the only card they control on resolution after you attach it they don't have any other cards to destroy so it fizzles, and then Griffin also fizzles because it needs to shuffle itself back to the main deck to be able to negate. Zeus I think is really strong. Sometimes you can just go you can like fusion summon like using Swirl Slime into any one of these, not this one unless you have a level 5 or higher, but basically yeah, into any one of these, and then you can slap this on top, attack, and then Zeus before you say commit your normal summon, before you go into Gilgamesh, so that way you can combo off after you Zeus your opponent or like bait something out. Like you could beat over something and then Zeus, and then and he's 3K too, and he's so easy to bring out. So a 3K body could potentially beat over like a 3 negate Appaloosa, um, or something like that. So it's just a couple of things to keep in mind. Siegfried and Baron. Sometimes your hand allows you to make Baron before your 5th summon, so that's why you play this. I think it's a pretty important card in the deck. And then Siegfried is when you do have those hands where you're able to kind of extend a little bit more and add another negate to your board. And sometimes you want to prioritize having Siegfried against like back row, as opposed to like having, I don't know, maybe like a Wave King or Machine X. So it's just nice to have access to this card. That is it for the extra deck and main deck. Let's get into a test hand. Alright guys, here we go. We're going to get into a test hand. Hopefully it gives you some insight, an idea of how the deck functions. This deck I definitely think has a high ceiling skill-wise. I think it's easy to misplay because there's decisions that you have to make that do affect you later on in your turn. So you have to be very wary of the lines of play that you make, the searches, everything definitely affects like what your end board ultimately is. So yeah, let's get into testing number 1. We have a 5-card starting hand. We have Copernicus, that's really good. Map, and then we have the 2 hand traps. So this is what I meant. This is actually a perfect showcase of like the high hand trap lineup, and then having like a starter as well as an extender. So this hand is interesting because you have the map, but then the map says that this is why Small World I feel like might be the better the better route, because if I had Small World I can reveal the nib and then banish Eccentric to add any DD. So I think in this scenario it would have been better to have Small World instead of map. But that's just like one reason why I'd want to switch it out. But yeah, it's really cool. Obviously, we have the 2 very high impact hand traps. We have Droll and we have Nib. These cards are insane. So like, if you're versing a deck that gets hurt by one of these, it's like GG, because you're gonna establish a board plus have these as backup defensive cards. So yeah, we have right now what I'm trying to see if. What I'm trying to figure out is if I want to commit to the map play, which I think I will. And if they ash this, then I have the Copernicus play, because I could send Lamia, send the slime, and then be able to combo off that way. So I'll go map. We'll pay half our life, unfortunately here. We'll go for Kepler, normal the Kepler, because we have to normal summon that monster that we added to be able to activate its effects, and then we'll add the gate. And then gate here, we can just add our Griffin. We could use the Copernicus in hand as fusion material, and then later on in the turn we could potentially revive it back. Revive it back with like one of the fusions and whatnot. So what we can do here is we can go We can go Griffin, and then we can use these two for Gilgamesh. And then right here, what I'd like to do is resolve Gilgamesh to... I think I want to put this in scale. This guy actually has a really cool pendulum effect where it says if I would take damage, I take no damage, and I can only use that once per turn. So because I paid half, I can stop myself from dying to myself pretty much if my opponent like can't get through my board. And then the other card, I think I'm still gonna go Ragnarok here because I'll be able to prevent myself from taking that additional 1,000 damage because right now I took half and then I took 1,000 from Gilgamesh, so I'm at 3k. And I would have been at 2k after resolving Ragnarok if Zero King wasn't on board. Plus with Zero King on board, now I can pendulum summon both these cards. DD Griffin has an effect where I can pitch one of these two to draw a card, but I think I want to keep both in hand. That way I can fusion summon. So I'm going to use the effect to fusion summon here. So we'll go into one of our Genghis. And then what we can do here is we can go right into Machine X to trigger Genghis. And we can trigger Ragnarok. Actually, yeah, let's trigger Ragnarok first. So once we summon the Genghis, we'll trigger Ragnarok to summon the Copernicus, and then Copernicus effect to send the Necro. Yeah, I think that's a better play. We would have been able to resolve both effects, but I think early on it's probably better because later on I'm going to resolve this effect to probably bring back the Griffin, so that way we search for the trap. So now we can overlay these two into our Wave King Caesar, and then here I need I can probably search for a contract instead of because I don't need to send anything with King Tail. Like there's nothing that I potentially need to send here because I already have Necro in grave. So what I can do is just leave Caesar here, and what we can do here is we'll go into another link 2. So we'll go link 2 here. And then that's going to trigger the Wave King. So we'll go Wave King Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2 Genghis to revive back Griffin. And then we'll search, we can actually search the field spell here. So that way we can lock our opponent. Alright, and now new chain, Griffin will activate to be able to search as the trap. Yeah, this hand was pretty nice. Alright, so this is our hand right here. And now we can go Necro. We can just banish that in the Copernicus to be able to summon the second copy of Flame King Genghis. That way we can just overlay these two into a High King Caesar. And now we can just slap Machine X on top. And we can activate the field spell here. So this is a pretty strong end board. So just like a quick recap, this can suck up twice because you can destroy this, attach your opponent's monster as material, and then you'll have 2 materials to be able to use its effect again. And then we have Wave King Caesar, which can use its effect twice. We can actually technically use this 4 times because we have the gate, we have the field spell, so we can pop this, attach, pop this, attach again, detach 2, attach again, so we'll be able to resolve it 4 times. But if you don't want to get rid of this card, if your opponent is hurt by this card because they have to link multiple times or they have the Xyz multiple times, then you just keep this on board because it stops like prank kids. It even stops like it stops PK as well. They can't like link summon multiple times as long as you control Gilgamesh. And then even if they try to attack over Gilgamesh, you could just take it. You could just take whatever monster they try to use to beat over this. So you have Headhunt, which is Widow Anchor. They don't get the monster back until the end of your turn, and if you take an extra deck monster, it counts as a DDD, so you can use it for your extra deck. And then obviously Wave King Caesar, that's twice, where you can like negate monster effects, spells, traps that would summon any monsters. And then even if they happen to get rid of, like through all this, you still have Nib and the Droll and Lockbird. So you're at 3K. During your turn, if I mean Gate is technically gonna be gone, so you won't take any damage. But when you resolve Ragnarok, you won't take the damage for Ragnarok. So you won't be like super low on life if your opponent happens to like attack you and drop you like too far down, where it could be like lethal. So yeah, I think it's pretty amazing because the longer these cards stay on field, the more value you get, and your grind game is actually becomes very very powerful. Like you could even like link into another link too if they get rid of your scales to be able to like resolve Gilgamesh again. You're gonna have a resource in the form of your opponent's monster. This becomes another resource that you could potentially use. Like you can place this in your scale to be able to summon Ragnarok out, and then you could use Ragnarok's effect to like be able to banish something. Yeah, I think that was a pretty insane test hand, and it definitely was a good way to showcase the potential of this deck and the ceiling of this deck as well. Because we ended with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 disruptions, and potentially if we get rid of this, that's even more than that. Plus, we have follow up. It's not like we have like no follow up, no resources to work with next turn. Thank you guys so much for watching. Much appreciated. Hopefully, this was a very informative video for you guys, and hopefully you learned something. Hopefully, gave you some insight. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care and peace.